Welcome everyone to the City Council meeting for Tuesday, September 6th. Mayor Gibbon is on vacation, showing off his new daughter to the rest of the family in Prague. So I, as Deputy Mayor, am chairing this meeting. I'd ask that everyone rise for the singing of our national anthem.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
I'd like to thank Mr. David Bray for his rendition of O Canada and the National Film Board for the images that you see on the screen. I'd like a motion to adopt the previous City Council minutes. Yes, Councillor Crokin.
Thanks, Deputy Wong. I move the minutes of the City Council meeting held August 22nd, 2011 be adopted.
Any errors or omissions in those set of minutes? If not, please vote. And that motion carries. Next item on is the approval of the agenda. With the, okay. Councillor O'Toole, would you please make that motion?
I'd like to adopt the agenda with the acceptance of one more item, and item number would be, where do we want to put that?
Put that under 9.
Okay, 9.9.
9, sure. 9.9.
So,
Yes, please.
and that would be Karen on the Boulevard.
Correct, thank you.
Okay, please vote. And that motion carries. Now for the delegation portion of our meeting, we have one delegation. This is the portion of our meeting where any member of our community can come forward and speak to council on any city-related matter. Those wishing to address council on a public hearing matter may do so during a public hearing rather than at this time. So I believe there was one delegation that notified us in advance that he wanted to speak with us. Is that correct? No? Mr. Biltek, oh, you're here for the public hearing. Okay. So if there's no one here wishing to speak with council, we'll move on to our next item, which is our public hearing. Item 6.1, the bylaw C1130B to amend the downtown enhancement plan. Yes, Helen? Got to turn on your mic.
My employer has taken a position on this issue, so I will declare a conflict.
Councillor Rice has left the chambers, and Mr. Johnson, please go ahead and present.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wong. Planning staff have reported to Public Works Committee on this issue twice in recent months, actually 3 times. And as a result, most members of council were in attendance, so my presentation this evening will be very brief. In reviewing the Couplet project in terms of the update to the downtown enhancement plan, planning staff identified a number of concerns with the impact of the project on the downtown and Muskosipi Park. The concerns with the Couplet project included 100th Avenue vitality, the pedestrian environment, impact on Muskogee Park, cost, effectiveness at solving a citywide transportation issue, and overall downtown aesthetics. The update to the city's transportation master plan confirms that the couplet does nothing to alleviate citywide east-west movement limitations. As a result of the recent presentations to committee, planning staff was directed to prepare a bylaw to amend the downtown enhancement plan to remove the couplet. Bylaw C 1130B, which is the subject of tonight's public hearing, does just that. It has both graphic and map and text amendments to the downtown enhancement plan to remove the couplet. Planning staff recommends that council give bylaw C 1130B second and third reading of this bylaw.
Okay, at this point, I'll invite any members of council to ask any questions of clarification for our administration. Seeing none, I'll take us to the presentation submission portion of our public hearing and ask if there's anyone present from the public who'd like to speak on this bylaw. I'd ask for anyone who would like to speak in favor of the bylaw go first, followed by anyone speaking against. Okay, I see one member of public, Mr. Biltek. Please take the table.
Thank you. Is this fine here?
It is fine,
Okay.
yes.
So, Your Worship, pro tem, members of council, she who must be obeyed, pro tem only, and the rest of you lot, thank you very much for this opportunity to address you on this matter. And also, thank you very much for what you do. I once sat where you were sitting, albeit not in such splendid surroundings, but I understand the toll it takes in your time, and thank you very much for what you do. Second, I'd like to commend to you two employees, Lori and Shelley of your Parks Department, who work as part of Josie Burrow's team, who have dedicated their summer to refurbishing Jubilee Park, a park that was in great disrepair, and they have done a marvelous job. I walk through the park several times a week on my way to and from work, and it is a real pleasure to walk through that park, and it is in the best shape I've seen it in the 39 years that I've lived here. And who knew we had a peace park, which they have now elevated to some stature within the park. Third, I'd like to congratulate you on the boulevard on 98th Street on the west side opposite City Hall. It's a real pleasure to walk along that street, and it feels much safer than the disaster zone north of 108th Avenue on that same street, where you take your life in your hand to walk on the sidewalk. And lastly, 102nd Street north of 108th Avenue is one of the finest streetscapes in this city. It is almost textbook perfect, and I hope that we will see more of such developments take place. Now, having all those congratulations, now on to the public hearing business. The decisions that you make have long-term implications, and you may think that the financial decisions you make are the most serious ones. But in fact, making decisions about streets and intersections have a longer-term impact. It is very clear, looking at what's happened throughout our world and in this country, that streets and intersections can have lives of 100 to 200 years. A case in point is 102nd Avenue and 102nd Street in this city. 100 years ago, when this city, which is now a city, was being laid out, 102nd Street and 102nd Avenue was to be the commercial core. But somebody allowed retail development to take place on 100th Avenue. And ever since then, in the last 100 years, we have suffered retail precinct on one of the narrowest streets in the city. More recently, and more to the point, in the mid-1970s, City Council adopted a master transportation plan with the keystone recommendation being the one-way couplets in the downtown area, with 100th Avenue to be temporarily one-way westbound, temporarily one-way. Now, 40 years later, you are being asked to make the temporary measure permanent. I suggest to you that this measure is incompatible with the other provisions of the plan. Namely, That 100th Avenue is to be primarily a retail precinct, and it is to be the, in the words of the plan, the pedestrian heart of the city. One-way, high-volume, high-speed arterial streets do not make for pedestrian-friendly streets. Nowhere in Canada will you find a vibrant retail precinct on a one-way arterial street. There are some limited examples of retail on one-way streets, namely Water Street and Gastown, but it is in no way a street comparable to 100th Avenue. It is nowhere near the length. It does not carry anywhere near the volume of traffic. It is a narrower street, and it does not allow parking on it. And it goes nowhere, and it starts nowhere. There is also a one-way street in the middle of Yorkville in central Toronto, a very high-rent retail district. That one-way street is 2 blocks long, and it has parking along one side and very successful retail on the other. In fact, all of the great retail streets in this country are on two-way streets. Bloor Street in Toronto, where we'll find the most expensive, read taxes, rent in the city, in the country. Robson Street, a close second for the most expensive retail space in the country. White Avenue in Edmonton, 124th Street in Edmonton, and in Calgary, 17th Avenue. These are all very successful retail streets, and the streets there are all two-way. A prime example of what one-way can do to a street is Granville Street, once the preeminent retail street in Vancouver. But since it was made one-way, and then to fix it, it was made into a pedestrian mall, the street has lost all prestige and is now home to low-rent retail and other activities that one does not desire to have in the center of our city. Your decisions tonight will have long-term consequences to the downtown and to the city. I cannot say with certainty that one-way streets have a causal relationship with retail deterioration, but the empirical evidence suggests that one-way streets and pedestrian-friendly retail precincts are incompatible. I would urge you to reconsider this part of the plan and to return Richmond Avenue to the one-way street, or to the two-way street that it was always intended to be. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I would open up questions from council to Mr. Biltek, if there are any. Councillor McLean.
Mr. Biltek, I never heard from city about, I've heard rumors of making it instead of just one-way, make it two-way again. And but what would happen to bring that about? I call them circles, and a lot of people to me said they do not like it, what's in this plan. And so how would that go about? And maybe Gary can ask that, like how much to make it two-lane, like, I don't know.
That would be Director of Public Works.
Yeah, Frank, sorry guys. Frank, sorry.
At this point, though, I'd like to direct questions to our delegation. Okay.
You have to bear all sorts of other things. Overall transportation problems, challenges, money, and all sorts of other things that you have to weigh. I'm not here to tell you to solve all of those problems. All I'm here to suggest to you is that the plan that's being presented to you is internally inconsistent. You cannot have a one-way street, which are designed, and this is an arterial street. You can't have a one-way arterial street which is designed for high speed, and then at the same time say in the plan that this is a street where vehicular traffic is secondary. That is a contradiction in terms, number one. Number two, it is incompatible with it being a retail activity. So you have to decide. I'm here to try to influence you, but you have to decide what is more important, moving cars or having a strong retail environment. Your decision tonight will reflect that priority. Choosing the one-way street says that cars are more important, that the traffic is more important than a retail environment. Choosing to send it back to administration and say, bring us back some options as to how to make that two-way, suggest that perhaps that retail is more important than the traffic flowing through there. But it's up to you to weigh all the other factors involved. I'm just suggesting that part of this plan is inconsistent.
Any other questions for Mr. Biltek? If not, I have one. Would you be concerned at all? I know that you have a business right on 100th Avenue. There's a lot of traffic that runs through the downtown core, and you get a lot of visibility just from the traffic alone. I don't know the exact count, but let's say it was 15 to 20,000 traffic movements per day. And if the couplet were formed and the main commuting traffic now bypasses the downtown, would you be concerned with a loss of business for those retailers?
Well, let's have a look at what you said. You said that there was a lot of traffic, and then you asked me, would I be concerned with a loss of business? Let me suggest to you that high traffic and business are not necessarily the same. If that was the case, we would all locate on the highway bypass, which has substantially more traffic on it, but we're not there. I learned years ago, I've been in retail for some 35 years, and I learned long time ago, watching and counting people that walked by my store in the Prairie Mall, and then looking at how many would come into the store and then how many would purchase. It really didn't make any difference how many people walked by my store. It only made the difference in how many would come in. Then it was up to me. I don't think there is very little evidence to suggest that if you have 15,000 cars driving by at speed past your premises, that you are going to get additional business. Maybe if you're in the donut and coffee business, but if you're in the business of selling high-end women's fashions, I'm not sure it helps to have half-ton trucks with testosterone-driven young men driving by at 70 kilometers an hour on the street. I'm not sure that that's attractive to your customers, quite frankly.
Okay.
And that is, from one of my retail neighbors who, last week we were standing on the street and a truck drove by at considerably over the speed limit, and she said to me, testosterone and half-ton trucks don't mix. And that's what we have on that street.
Is there anyone else from council that has a question? If not, I would like to thank you very much for making your presentation.
Thank you for your time.
Really appreciate it when a citizen comes with concerns, and we really do welcome that interaction. So I don't see anyone else in the gallery that's waving at me to make a presentation. So I'd like to close the presentation submission portion of our public hearing and open up one last opportunity for council to ask questions of administration. We have Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Councillor Wong. For administration, do we have an official position or any feedback from the Downtown Business Association relative to this public hearing?
Mr. Johnson.
The Downtown Business Association submitted a letter previously based on when we were moving to committee, and it was part of that committee package. To the best of my recollection, the letter stated that they understood that there was this movement away from the couplet, and that they would be keen to see the resources directed toward other projects in the downtown. With respect to this actual public hearing, I have not received official correspondence from them indicating support or non-support. I have had a number of, let's say, informal discussions, but I'd be hesitant to interpret the intent of those, or to read into a position in that.
Thank you.
Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wong. Administration, I've been just over 20 years. What is the speed limit? Because as soon as you go past on the bridge, it's 50. What is it through downtown on 100 there? What is the speed limit?
It's 50 kilometers an hour.
Oh, that's pretty fast. And there's no signs, but I mean, has it ever been looked at in that area reducing maybe? It's just idea, because that's pretty fast to go through their families. And I always wondered that, if it was 50. Thank you.
I take it that question doesn't require an answer. Okay. Any other questions from council? Seeing none, I'll like to close the public hearing portion and ask for a motion for business arising from the public hearing. Got no one in the queue.
Mr. Chairman,
You do have a buzzer. Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to recommend council give bylaw C-1130B to amend the downtown enhancement plan, a second reading.
Debate and discussion on second reading? Seeing none, I would ask everyone to please vote. And that motion carries with one opposed. Follow-up motion?
And Councillor Wong, I'd like to make a second recommendation that council give bylaw 1130B to amend the downtown enhancement plan, the third reading.
Okay, there is no debate on third reading. Please vote. And that motion carries with one opposed. Someone please ask Councillor Rice to join council chambers. Okay, we're on to the reports part of our agenda, bylaw C-1100-176, the land use bylaw amendment. And Mr. Discavich, Public Works Director, would you please introduce the bylaw and recommendations? Or Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wong. Bylaw C-1100-176 is a result of some discussions with both the local school boards. They have requested that the city amend the land use bylaw to require that school site amenities such as sports fields and play areas be a condition of development, much the same way paving of parking lots and landscaping is currently addressed. Administration is recommending that council set Monday, October 3rd as the date and time for a public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions for administration? I'll ask for a motion. Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Councillor Wong. I move council give bylaw C-1100-176 land use bylaw amendment first reading.
Motion for first reading. Does anyone have any debate or discussion on date, time, and location for first reading?
Well, that'll be next motion.
Oh, sorry. Jumped ahead. Okay, motion for first reading. Please vote. And that motion is unanimous. Carry on.
Thank you, Councillor Wong. I move council establish Monday, October 3rd, 2011 at 7 p.m. in council chambers as the date, time, and location for public hearing purposes for bylaw C-1100-176.
Now I'll ask for discussion on the motion for date, time, and location. Seeing none, call the question. Please vote. And that motion also carries. On to committee business. 100th Anniversary Committee. Who's handling that?
Mike on?
Please.
Okay, I move that council receive the minutes of the 100th Anniversary Committee meeting held August 16th, 2011.
Motion to receive the minutes. Any discussion on the minutes?
if I can speak to them, or do you want to vote first?
Yeah, we'll vote first
Okay.
if there's no objections to the content. Missing 2 votes. There we are, that motion carries. Councillor Rice?
Just for council's attention, it's the good news, bad news. The good news is we've started planning well ahead of time. The bad news is it's very difficult to plan this far ahead of time and maintain people's excitement and enthusiasm. We met today with Catherine Cole, who will be writing the cultural capital application form. There's a lot of restrictions, so what we found out today, a lot of the ground we covered will not be eligible under this grant, which is very frustrating. So we're now in the process of exploring other grants as well, and we'll be looking at those, so.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. Next item on the agenda is oh, sorry. Councillor Radburn has a question for you.
Thank you. Councillor Rice, is our grant application, do we have to state what our legacy project is in our grant application? Because in the context of the minutes, I thought there wasn't a full discussion on the number of potential legacy projects in the Muskosipi Park. There's more than just the dredging and extension of trails. There are other things in the master plan that could be a legacy project too. So yeah, how important do we have to decide soon?
No, of course, the legacy project, a lot of it will depend on how much money we're able to access. So that'll play a key role in determination of the legacy project. Part of our discussion today was some ideas for legacy projects that would not be eligible. And this was where part of the frustration came in, is that no capital projects, for example, would be allowed under the cultural capital grant and so on and so forth. So that's why it becomes imperative to explore other grants as well.
Any further questions for Councillor Rice? Seeing none, next item of business, item 9.2, the Combative Sports Commission. And Councillor O'Toole, would you please make this motion?
Yes, I'd like to recommend council receive the minutes of the combative.
We need your mic, sorry.
I started talking, here we go. Everything working now? Okay. I'd like to recommend council receive the minutes of the Combative Sports Commission meeting held on August 17th, 2011.
Motion to receive the minutes, please vote. And that motion carries. And I guess I'll give an update on that. I wasn't allowed to make the motion, being as I'm chairing this meeting. Combative Sports Commission approved one promoter's license to a Ms. Sarah Steinke. And the other business that was done during that meeting was a little bit of workshop stuff on determining floor plan for the technical zone requirements for a combative sports event. From our last event, we noticed that there were minor issues in terms of determining how much area around the ring is required for a safety zone. Promoters have one idea, the Crystal Center takes their direction from them when they really should be taking them from the commission, whose sole job is to ensure not only regulation but safety of the event. So we needed to make sure there was enough room to move a stretcher all the way around the ring. So that was one of the housekeeping items that we were dealing with. And we're really focusing on the actual administrative work for the next event, which is on October 15th. So that's Evolution Fighting Championship. We'll hold another event at the Crystal Center October 15th. We have Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Councillor Wong. Just tell me what approving application for a promoter's license means. Does that mean that there's a separate application for actually an event?
That's correct.
And
Yes.
do we know when this person might be coming forth?
Okay, what the commission had decided was any person or any company can apply for a promoter's license, and that license allows them to officially do business with any facility to host an event. Once they decide on what facility and the date, they can actually come back to the commission and apply for an event license. And that event license, really, a lot more thorough background search is done on the person. That we ask for references at that time. We ask for examples of other events that they've hosted.
Right.
But we have no idea when they would decide to come back. The promoter's license is good for a year. Okay, seeing no one else in the queue, we'll move on to item 9.3, Special Public Works Committee, and I believe Councillor Crokin was going to take that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wong. I would move that council receive the minutes of the Special Public Works Committee meeting held August 22, 2011.
Please vote. And that motion carries. Is there anything you'd like to highlight from that set of minutes?
Not right at this moment, no, I
Okay.
haven't. I think we covered it all.
Any questions for Councillor Crokin? No, we'll move on to item 9.4, the Public Works Committee meeting of August 23rd. And Councillor Crokin, could I ask you to take those minutes on as well?
Thank you again. I move council receive the minutes of the Public Works Committee meeting held August 23rd, 2011.
Please vote. And that motion carries. Councillor Crokin, please
Okay.
continue.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. 9.4.4.1, typical road cross-sections. The recommendation that council approve the attached typical road cross-sections in Schedule C, with the exception of detailed 20.03, retain the monolithic sidewalk on one side of residential local roads and direct administration to implement accordingly.
Okay, would you like to speak on that, or would you like a member of administration to,
Yeah, I'd like the director just to clarify that.
Mr. Discavich, would you just provide some background information, please?
Thank you, Acting Mayor Wong. Administration have been directed to look at presenting the typical cross-sections for our roadways from arterial down to local to council through the Public Works Committee. Administration have spent a number of hours with the partners, being local builders and developers, over the course of the last year. There have been many meetings. And the issue with respect to local roads was the issue of having sidewalk both sides versus one side, and whether the sidewalks be of a separate walk nature or a monolithic nature, which means that the sidewalk would be connected to the curb and gutter with no boulevard. Both options are viable. It's a matter of council to decide which cross-section they wish to go with.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion, comments, or questions to administration on that motion? I have Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Councillor Wong. Just for administration, it's my understanding that this was something the Builders Association and the UDI were interested in seeing changed from the initial proposal brought by administration. Were there other changes? I recognize and I really commend staff for working with these partners on a lot more than just this. So that's a very positive. But at the end of the day, was there anything at committee that UDI or the Builders Association, I guess, were any other changes they were looking for?
Anyone have an answer to that? Ms. Donnelly? Or Mr. Discavich? Go ahead.
Thank you. There were some other items that were objected to by the Home Builders Union UDI. It was noted in the report. When it came to the actual Public Works Committee, those other items were not brought up as being, and spoken to, so my
Okay.
guess estimation would be that they weren't as critical of a concern as was the monolithic versus separate sidewalk.
Thank you.
Okay. So we should note that although this motion does kind of separate that issue of monolithic sidewalks, or brings it to the forefront, the real important part of the typical road cross sections was the fact that there would be uniform fill on the roads, there would be minimum road sizes. It talked about where the utilities would lie beneath the road, and for collectors and arterial roads, what the design would look like, as well as those local residential roads. So it was quite a large document, and we shouldn't just focus on the one issue of monolithic sidewalks, but that was a major concern from UDI and the home builders, and Public Works Committee decided to listen to them and change the original proposal to back to the monolithic sidewalk. So if there is no other discussion, I don't see anyone in the queue. I will ask for the vote on the motion. And that motion carries. Councillor Crokin, one more item of business.
Thanks, Deputy. 9.4, I move that council adopt the northeast drainage study as presented.
Can I get a little bit of background information on that from the Director of Public Works?
Thank you, Acting Mayor Wong. The city has approved a master drainage plan, which looks at the entire network of drainage and storm management within the city boundaries. And council had previously directed administration to put that into a quadrant format. So this basically deals with the northeast section of the city, east of 100th Street and north of 100th Avenue, and would in more detail explain how the stormwater would be managed in that area through future development.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt the northeast drainage study. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, please vote. And that motion carries. Are there any, is there anything else you'd like to highlight from that set of minutes, Councillor Crokin? Does any member of council have any questions for Councillor Crokin? Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Councillor Wong. Just a question I see that the South Montrose Greenway was, the report was received for information. Does that mean that something goes to budget? I noticed there was some outline of possible costs relative to the plan. And so my question is it automatically referred to budget, or was committee considering referring to budget? What's happened? What's going to happen next?
Deputy Mayor, I don't believe we discussed it going to our deliberations this fall, but maybe we could ask Frank if there was a...
Yeah, I would ask Frank, because that's the way I took it, is that it would be considered at the fall budget session. Yeah.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Wong. That's what administration took it as well. We'll be looking at bringing it forward through the budget deliberations as part of the entire package.
And I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Councillor Crokin? Councillor McLean.
Wong.
Okay.
Question I have for this northeast drainage study, and I read through some of it. I lived in Summerside. There's an area that they put a fence up in the rafters, like an elk fence. But if a kid was to fall in that drainage going into Summerside face south at Podolian's building, it'd be dangerous. Is there an idea how that's going to be protected in the future? And go by there, there's 6-8 feet of water, and when you fall in, you're going to be in mud. So I just, this is all about the drainage system.
Okay, one thing we should be clear on is that that wasn't part of the northeast drainage study.
Well, it's included with it. That's where the water's going.
No, that would be northwest.
Northwest.
Yeah. The northeast was...
Oh, the northeast.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had it different.
Or even
So it's
southeast.
northwest.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
So that's still to come forward at
Yeah, I
a
hope so.
future meeting. Okay, on to item 9.5, General Government Services, and Councillor Gustafson.
Thank you, Mayor Wong. I'll move that council receive the minutes of the General Government Services Committee held August 24th, 2011.
Any errors or omissions in that set of minutes? Seeing none, please vote. That motion carries. Business arising from that meeting? Councilor Gustafson?
Thank you, Mayor Wong. I'll move the council approve policy 350, fiscal sustainability model, long-term debt management.
Okay, would you like to highlight any information there or ask administration to provide a background?
Let's have maybe Kenny could do that. He's the
Director of Corporate
he's
Services.
the money guy. I can give you my
Mr.
opinion. but-
Anderson. Maybe. There we go.
Okay, one of the main points in the policy is to limit the borrowing by the city to 80% of the legislated limit. The second point is to limit the size of the project, so we're not just borrowing funds for smaller type projects to 1.5% of our borrowing limit. So those are the two main issues in the policy.
Councilor Rice.
The main purpose of the policy is to set guidelines regarding the use of long-term debt funding and to ensure the long-term fiscal sustainability of the city of Grand Prairie through management of the city's resources. Is that not correct?
That is correct, and as well as we tie the debt to the life expectancy of the project, and the future taxpayers in the future will be able to utilize it because they will actually be servicing the debt. But it ties directly into our fiscal sustainability model. It's one of the pillars.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion at hand? Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wong. Ken, what percentage are we at right now of debt?
If we were at 80%, 80% would be 155 million. Currently, we're at 125 million.
Okay, seeing no one else in the queue for discussion, I'll call the question on the vote. And that motion carries. Councilor Gustafson, is there anything else you'd like to highlight from that set of minutes?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Wong. We had one delegation from the community at this meeting, Mr. Walter Andriff, resident. He was concerned about the high price of streetlights and asked us to be really financially responsible as we make our decisions. And just as Director of Corporate Services, our money man, said that the shorter version is that we are extremely conservative and we are nowhere near our debt limit for our taxpayers. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions for Councilor Gustafson on that meeting? Seeing none, let's move on to item 9.6, the Environment Committee. Councilor Munro.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Wong. I'll move that Council receive the minutes of the Environment Committee meeting held August 29th, 2011.
Does anyone see any errors, omissions on this set of minutes? Seeing none, please vote. And that motion is successful. Councilor Munro.
Thanks again, Deputy Mayor Wong. I'll move that Council include development and implementation of Partners for Climate Protection Program in the Environmental Sustainability Department's 2012 to 14 business plan. Just to speak briefly to this, Mayor Wong, is this is a plan that we actually signed up for back in 2002 under a different administration or a different council. And essentially it's a tool or a resource, I guess, for tracking how we are doing our part in climate protection. We have been unfortunately, we have not been tracking this to date. And with this tool, what we would do is we would essentially start tracking it now. Involves 5 milestones in the program, which is creating a greenhouse gas emission inventory, setting a emissions reduction target, developing a local action plan, and of course implementing that plan, and then monitoring our progress and reporting the results. There is some grant money available with the implementation of this program. It's $350,000 on 50-cent dollars. And we've already done quite a bit to accommodate this plan, and it will be retroactive. So if given the direction here, we'll be able to implement this and hopefully have a great plan.
Thank you, Councillor Munro. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Please vote. And that motion is successful. Councillor Crokin, sorry, Councillor Munro, one more item for business.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wong. I'll move that council accept the Take Part, Take Pride Committee Community Tour Evaluation Criteria Concept as presented. And if I could just briefly speak to that as well. As many of you may recall, we used to participate in communities in bloom. We've stopped doing that as of 2009, and the Take Part, Take Pride Take Part, Take Pride Committee is going to take over doing the annual community evaluation. This committee is comprised of about 9 public members and 4 city representatives. And what we will be doing is this Friday, we will be going, if this is successful, I guess, this Friday, we would be going around and basically assessing the city to see how we're doing. I think the other note that I should mention is that the Take Part, Take Pride Committee has provided over $74,000 to the community as far as beautification projects are concerned. And, those include everything from the Arbor Day Society, Center for Creative Arts, Downtown Association, Grand Spirit Foundation, and many others. Anyways, I would encourage everyone to vote in favor of this. I think it'll be a great program.
Okay, motion on the floor. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Please vote. And that motion is successful. Councillor Munro, is there anything else you'd like to highlight from the Environment Committee meeting?
Absolutely. One thing in particular is that we had a delegation, Jeff Johnson from Aquaterra came and presented to us and reminded us about curbside recycling, which began last Thursday. And I think so far it's been a great success. My neighborhood was pickup day today, and it looked like there was a lot of those blue bags out there, and I think it's about time we finally got the recycling on the go. So,
I agree with you 100%.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council for Councillor Munro? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 9.7, the Protective Services Committee meeting. Councillor Radburn, please.
Thank you, Councillor Wong. I would move council receive the minutes of the Protective Service Committee meeting held August 30th, 2011. I think there's one change, and that would be that I don't believe Councillor Munro was able to come to that meeting.
Okay. Does anyone else see any other errors, omissions in that set of minutes? Seeing none, I'll take that as direction that we'll just change that. Councillor Crokin, did you? No?
It's throughout the meeting there was Councillor McLean voted, but
Councillor Munro, is it?
Monroe, McLean.
Munro.
Okay.
Did I say McLean?
Yes, Councillor.
I'm sorry. Absolutely. Councillor McLean was there.
Yeah.
Councillor Munro was
No,
not.
I believe you said Councillor Munro. Yeah.
I did. Thank you.
Yes.
Now you have me confused, John. Yeesh. Yeah, it really easy. All right, here we go. We got it
Okay.
right?
So I think we've got it right. Motion to receive the minutes, please vote. And that motion passes. Please continue.
Thank you, Councillor Wong. I move the council accept the report on the Community Village Plan of Action as information. Staff had done a lot of work addressing concerns that are brought forward with respect to, I guess, actions, things that are happening in the area of the community, village. The report, I'm sure we've all read it, but just to highlight, crime prevention is continuing to work with the community, both with respect to developing an action committee as well as 2 safety committees, and trying to engage the community to help us with the issues. Actually, the 17th is a big barbecue. What's the word I'm looking for? Open house, kind of, at the community village, hosted by crime prevention in the city. I think to get the community engaged and putting a different face to that area of town. Enforcement is continuing, both with respect to bylaw and RCMP. There's a target team that's working there as well. We are, I guess, really an exciting part is staff is interviewing those persons who frequent that area, and then from that report, we'll be able to look at how we are going to, as a community, including agencies, address the issues and the problems and the behaviors of those in that area of town. So I really believe that we're taking a multi-pronged perspective on looking at that area of town. We have asked for regular updates to the committee, particularly after the action committee meets, and we've asked to be kept apprised as to what's happening and what changes are being made and what successes we're having. So I think that we have a good plan of action, and we have an ongoing monitoring of that plan of action. So I would encourage council to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Radburn. Any discussion on that motion? I see Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wong. It's towards Councillor Radburn. I think you said the 17th, but that's the big splash, the event for the community to come out and see the new multiplex center. I think it's September 10th is the block party at the community.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you, Kevin. It's this Saturday.
Saturday, September 10th.
Very
Thank you
good.
for that clarification. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, please vote. And that motion is successful. Councillor Radburn, item 9.
Thank you. I would move first reading of bylaw C1166C to amend the traffic bylaw.
Thank you for that motion for first reading. There is no debate on first reading. Please vote. That motion is successful. Please continue.
Thank you. I would move second reading to bylaw C1166C to amend the traffic bylaw. And if I may, Councillor Wong, I'd like to speak to that now and provide a context.
Please do.
Thank you. So this bylaw, we passed some amendments a while ago, but we're coming back now to deal with the RV component of this bylaw amendment. We have had 2 committee meetings to discuss this. We have had 1 council meeting, and then we've had 2 more committee meetings, and now we're bringing it back to council. We've had, one might say, exhaustive discussion on this bylaw change. I guess the last 2 or 3 meetings, I'm really, I think that all council was given the opportunity to come and provide their feedback to the changes. And it's a result of those changes, we had a couple of councillors join us in providing their input. That meeting resulted in the changes that you see today. And they are as such. First of all, with that we're adding 27-1 A person may park a recreational vehicle or travel trailer on a highway in a residential district only in a location completely adjoining the owner's residence as shown in the records of the motor vehicle registry. This was something that we had in our initial bylaw proposal. That was not something that the amended bylaw, last time it came to council, had in it. But in the discussion, I think that it's there because I think it's useful to have some consequence, some tool for enforcement to deal with those RV vehicles that are parked in very dangerous situations, i.e. the middle of a cul-de-sac, i.e. by a neighborhood park, and even in front of some other neighbor's property without discussing it with them. So we're keeping that in. 27.2, the committee initially brought forth to 24 hours. It has been 72. We are now bringing back a compromise 48 hours. The rest of 27.2 remains the same. Finally, and number 2 just means that, yes, RV owners will be able to detach their trailer. So initial proposal from committee was that you could not. The amended motion suggested that you could. And so the committee in the discussion is bringing forth that you can, so that kind of all RV vehicles can be treated similarly. That is basically the changes. I appreciate, I guess, the involvement of other councillors. I think that this balances being cognizant of our RV owners and being recognizing that we have a number of RV owners in the city of Grand Prairie. I think we find some compromise where I think that they are not going to be inconvenienced to the extent that maybe the initial bylaw amendments brought forth. But it does give us some way to address the congestion, safety, and enjoyment of property issues that many citizens of Grand Prairie suggested that we need to address. So I guess that maybe gives a bit of a summary of a context of where we are today.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Radburn. And I'll open it up for discussion, starting with Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wong. I'd like to amend Section 1 of the proposed bylaw to read as follows. 27.1, a person may park a recreational vehicle or travel trailer on a highway in a residential district only in a location completely adjoining the owner's residence as shown in the records of the motor vehicle registry, except those residents situated within a cul-de-sac. If there's any questions.
Okay, the motion for an amendment is in order. I would ask for discussion on that motion. Councillor Rice, you're in the queue. Do you want to? No? Okay. If you'd like to speak on it, please.
The reason why I've seen a loophole here, and my cul-de-sac alone, there's 15 of us, and I'm okay because I push my house back and it fits on the driveway. But there's quite a few of them. If you look at a cul-de-sac, there's no adjoining property. So where are you going to park it then? And we got a 48 hours. They wanted 24. It's down to 40 instead of 72. So someone could phone anonymous, and bylaw is not in a lot of ways enforced in some of this because people have been coming to me and they're not too happy. But there's a loophole here on this cul-de-sac, and I think it's not a major thing. It's just something to say you could park 3 or 4 down, because in the cul-de-sac there is no adjoining. It's a few down, so that's what it's all about. So.
Okay, so discussion on the motion to amend 27.1. Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Councillor Wong. Yeah, I'm speaking in opposition to the amendment. This amendment was brought forth at committee as well. I think that it's a slippery slope. There are different contexts in different areas of town, small lots, etc. I think that that choosing a particular circumstance in terms of residential area is not the way to go. relative to this bylaw change. I think that regardless of where you live, I think that we have to be cognizant of the congestion, the safety, and people want to enjoy their property. So, yeah, I would urge council to not support the amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Monroe.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wong. I will be speaking in opposition of this one as well, too. I would echo what Councillor Radburn has said. And just to add to that, I think that there, once again, there has been a lot of discussion about this. We've heard from a lot of folks on this. I think we've already compromised quite a bit to accommodate the RV owners in the city, and I guess the problem that I would foresee with cul-de-sac parking would be you would essentially be forced to park in front of your neighbor's house, and I can't see that too many neighbors would be agreeable to that. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to add my 2 cents. I know I'm not really supposed to debate, but I have a real problem with this particular amendment, and I can't support it because it really does set up 2 classes of citizens, ones that have to adhere to the bylaw and the others that don't. And I don't think that that provides consistency for our bylaw department. Councillor Crokin, I see you in the queue.
Thanks, Deputy Wong. I too, I'm an RVer. I think that this, if we defeat this, it will hopefully bring the good neighbor aspect out and ring the common sense bell. Because I know it's tight in a cul-de-sac, I understand that. But if you're going to be loading your RV, talk to buddy next door. I mean, just don't all of a sudden drive in there. That's where I think RVers should really be sticking together and talking about it. So if we do put it in there, then they don't have to talk to anybody. And that's how I read it anyway. So I'll probably be voting against it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Crokin. So we have a motion to amend section 27.1 to add, except those residences situated within a cul-de-sac at the end of that paragraph. I'll call the question for the vote on the amendment. And that motion is defeated by virtue of a 6-2 vote. Back to the main motion, I'll ask for discussion. Councillor Rice.
This bylaw, as I can see, this amendment deals with owners, property owners loading their RV to go away for a weekend. What about visitors? I'm a little confused as to how this bylaw would affect if you had a visitor. I looked at 27.2. It may fit under there, except the 27.1 negates that. So,
Councillor Radburn, if you'd like to answer that.
Yeah, good question, and that came up. I guess people thought that to be very practical and pragmatic about it, I think that your relative who comes to load up in front of your house, I don't think any neighbor is going to complain. And really, this is all it's about. It's not about the RV patrol driving around the city looking for RV vehicles that not the owner of the property. It's about, as John has said, a good neighbor, talking with your neighbor if you have to go onto their property a little bit. And I just don't think that's going to be a problem.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll ask the question. Please vote. That motion is successful with 1 opposed. Councillor Radburn?
Thank you.
Motion to have. Okay.
I have another motion. No, I don't have. I would move that we have third reading of bylaw C1166C.
Thank you, Councillor Radburn. Motion to have third reading must be unanimous in order to pass 3 readings in 1 council meeting. Any discussion on having third reading? Please vote. And that motion is unsuccessful with one opposed. So that motion will come back to the next city council meeting. Or that bylaw will. And that is scheduled for September 19th. Councilor Radburn, next item of business?
Thank you, Councillor Wong. Thanks, John. I would move that council award construction tender in the amount of $888,345, excluding GST, to Valcom Construction as the lowest bid meeting tender specifications. To provide some context here for council, this is the, I guess, renovation, restoration of the old public library facility. It is basically office additions and mechanical upgrades so that bylaw enforcement, crime prevention, protective services director and assistant, and GPREP program coordinator will work out of there. And that's because of space issues at the RCMP detachment, so we're providing some flexibility there. The 3 bids came in. The other 2 are, I believe, 1.1 and 1.3. I guess the bids were reviewed, and this is the recommendation that brought forward from administration and that committee supported.
Any discussion on the motion to award the tender? Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wong. I think this is very good because I think we passed for stuff to happen there at 1.7 million, so the price is well under budget, and so I'm in favor of it.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, please vote. And that vote is successful. And is there anything else you'd like to highlight from that?
Thank you,
that meeting?
thank you, Councillor Wong. Actually, yes, the discussion tonight is consistent with the 2.5 hours of meeting that we spent. So, yes, there were. We did have, we did look at concerns and comments on proposed taxi revisions. We had provided some direction to administration. They brought a report back dealing with those. And so that we have asked administration to now draft an amending bylaw that does a number of things. One, it provides a cap of taxi units that is consistent with the number of taxis that were on the road or on the books as of the committee day. And that cap would be reviewed every 2 years. We've also included the option of exceeding the cap for environmentally friendly or accessible taxi vehicles. We also looked at putting fare structures on the city website. We've increased fees for taxi licensing and inspections. We have we've asked them to put in a minimum number of taxis for taxi broker status. And we've changed taxi inspections so that taxis that 5 years older or more would have to have a mid-year inspection. So this will come back. This is just now a draft amending bylaw is being brought up. So it now will be done by admin, brought back to committee for further discussion, and then a decision as to what to bring back to council. Let me see what else. Grand Prairie District SBCA, we're looking at a $3 per dog license levy. That will come back to council when we update all of our rates with respect to licenses. And that was just to provide a little bit of flexibility of grant, a little bit more revenue to the SPCA in addition to the contract we presently have with them. And then we dealt with 2 letters from the Downtown Association and the Parking Advisory Committee. And our motion basically says that we receive those letters for information and direct administration to look at reviewing the role, mandate of the Parking Advisory Committee model, and see if there is a model, such as maybe disband that and develop a Parking Advisory Committee as an arm of the Downtown Association. It would be the intent of committee to look to rescind first reading of the bylaw at next committee meeting, and that would come back to council with respect to the increase of the parking fines that was contemplated in the bylaw that we tabled to council, I guess, last time. And that is a result of, as everyone is aware, of the province, I guess, changing their mind relative to passing on the $15 to municipalities. I really want to commend the AUMA mid-sized mayors with Mayor Gibbons' leadership, and our MLA, Wayne Drysdale, who I know was an advocate for a change in provincial direction. So I think that was a very good news stories, and obviously, I guess, causes us not to need the bylaw that was first contemplated. And I think that covers the meeting. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Councillor Radburn. Does anyone have any questions for Councillor Radburn? I see Councillor Rice.
2 questions, if I can, and it concerns bylaw C 1064. I'm not sure. Can the committee freeze the number of cabs? There's been no official motions. There's been no bylaw amendment. It hasn't come to council. Can you guys just say that's it? That's the rules?
Councillor Radburn?
Well, we did direct administration to that. I guess the thinking was that would defeat the whole purpose of the proposed amendments. If we had, I think, 16 taxi licenses given within the last couple of weeks of the contemplation of this. So we would get to a point where that would further exacerbate the circumstances we're in now.
And I certainly understand your motivations. Can you do it? That's, I guess you did it.
We did.
Okay.
We did.
My second question is, I see that you're requiring taxi brokers to maintain a minimum fleet of 7. Was that number chosen because in the existing bylaw, they are required to have a dispatch office, and 7 cabs would be the minimum that it would be financially feasible to run a dispatch office?
That's the information that we were given.
Thank you.
Councillor Gustafson.
Thank you, Mayor Wong. Alderman Radbourne, is there any other municipalities that put a cap on private cab businesses that you know of?
The information that we received suggested that there was.
Anything further? Councillor McLean?
But on this, I mean, come to the next committee meeting when this is in a draft bylaw format and discuss it. That's the purpose of developing a draft bylaw, for any councillors to come and make their perspectives known.
Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wong. And I think it's very good when it does come forward to council, because I think this has been in place since 2002 or 3. And there was, Councillor Rice was saying about a cap, and can you do that for council? Well, City of Calgary mentioned that they want to put a cap, and I think it was 1988 when it happened. There was such a backlog of taxi drivers getting new licenses. They're still working that out now today, so maybe Councillor Radbourne can reaffirm that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And actually, I've talked to quite a few taxi drivers lately, and a lot of them seem to be positive. So.
Thank you. I think Councillor Radbourne hit the nail on the head when he said, you know, come to the Protective Services Committee meeting where we can have a full discussion on the draft bylaw and have your input, rather than having it in this forum when there is actually no official motion to discuss.
Yeah.
Councillor Rice, I do have you in the queue unless,
Now, I just wanna, I'm asking my question anyways. My understanding is, and I assume you got this information at the committee meeting, but my understanding is Grand Prairie would be one of the last communities in Alberta, if not in Canada, to not have a cap.
Yeah, and Helen, I can't tell you that stat.
Committee meeting.
But I guess what this really shows is that there, again, I don't want, as happened recently with respect to something that was contemplated, it got out through the community that it's a done deal, right? This is not a done deal. This is a concept that's being contemplated that has not been formally approved and supported by committee to come to council. The taxi industry will continue to have every opportunity to bring forth their perspectives at committee, and then again at council. Thank you.
thank you, Councillor Radburn. Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Wong. As it pertains to the number of vehicles in a fleet, they suggested that they could not make money at 5 cars, and 10 cars was proposed at one time, but there were a number of companies out there that didn't have that many vehicles, and they would have to expand. So we cut it and made it 7. So that's where that number come from.
That's great. Thank you for that clarification. See no one else in the queue, so I would like to move on to item 9.8, Community Development Committee meeting. And I believe that's Councillor Gustafson.
All right, thank you very much, Alderman Wong. I'll move the council receive the minutes of the Community Development Committee meeting held August 30th, 2011.
Okay, does anyone see any errors or omissions in that set of minutes? Seeing no one in the queue, please vote. And that motion passes. Is there anything that you'd like to highlight from that committee meeting, Councillor Gustafson?
There's a fairly, yes, thank you, Mayor Wong. There was a fairly brief, fairly lengthy discussion about the fate of the leisure center, and we referred it to the budget deliberations. And we'll all get to debate it at budget deliberations and decide the fate of our pool, or our last small pool. Thank you.
Hey, does anyone have any questions for Councillor Gustafson on the contents of that meeting? I see Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Councillor Wong. Yeah, I appreciate the motion. I do believe the intent of the motion was also that prior to budget deliberations, there would be a council committee of the whole to discuss the, I believe Councillor Monroe made the motion, actually to look at the options with additional information, that information being operational costs of each of the alternatives. And that would be discussed at a council committee of the whole, and then the results of that discussion would go to budget. That's my recollection.
That is correct. That's my recollection as well.
Thank you.
Councillor Crokin.
Thanks. Just a quick note on that presentation of the 3 or 4 options that Roger Field gave us. The survey was the one that was very, very interesting when there was over 30% of the people who surveyed were from the county of Grand Prairie. We were very excited to see that they really like our leisure center and was happy to have them in the queue. And we'll be able to hear and talk more about it at our discussions.
Thank you, Councillor Crokin. Seeing no one else in the queue, I'll move to item 9.9, Karen on the Boulevard Funding Agreement. Councillor O'Toole will take that.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Wong. I'd like to recommend the council, hang on here, I got it here, approve an advancement of $400,000 of the $1.4 million affordable housing grant to Karen on the Boulevard, subject to an agreement being entered into between the city and the developer. And if I can just speak on that just a moment.
Yes, please.
The monies would ensure that construction starts before freeze-up when freeze-up happens, it would increase costs dramatically. And if this was to pass, construction could start probably within the next 7 days, and material could be ordered, and it could be well underway.
Okay, and just as an item of information and clarification, that $1.4 million that was approved was provincial affordable housing dollars that the
Yes.
city has been entrusted to divvy up.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wong. So, Councillor O'Toole, if this passes tonight, across from the Catholic Church, we will be seeing machines there within a week, and they will be digging?
From what I was told earlier today, yes, it's a possibility of within the next week.
Councillor Rice.
My response to Councillor O'Toole and Councillor McLean is, I don't think so. If you think we're gonna have an agreement already and signed and checks cleared and all that within 7 days, I don't think the system works like that. It will be very shortly, but I don't think you should tie yourself down to a time frame, because the agreement will have to, you know, with our lawyer and everything else, and that's not something that Greg's gonna run home and type up tonight when this meeting's over.
Just to rebuttal on that one. You're absolutely correct. It's probably going to take approximately 2 weeks to go through the legal actions, but just having the assurance, I think, is where we're at right now.
Thank you, councillors. I have Councillor McLean in the queue.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wong. So I'm wondering about Councillor Rice. Of course, agreement and have it all done and the paperwork, but would a letter go a long way saying that that's in the works so that the process can get started? If we pass it tonight. That's what I'm wondering, whoever I can direct that to. Gary, please.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, certainly administration could provide a letter to the developer indicating council's wishes following your decision tonight, and certainly we can make that available.
Thank you, Gary. Any further discussion on the motion? Councillor Rice.
I don't think, the motion quite clearly says if an agreement is in place. An agreement is something that has been signed. You can't go giving a letter that says, I bet you he's gonna sign this agreement when we give it to him, and so the money's in the bank. No, like, the motion is very clear. The lawyer will go ballistic if you start doing stuff like that, I think.
Absolutely. The intention of the motion is for our solicitor to draft up an agreement.
Yes.
And that Mr. Cameron and our administration would sit at the table, and if that agreement is agreed upon by both parties, they would sign it, and then a check would be issued from our financial services.
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I will call the question. Please vote. That motion is successful by virtue of a 6-2 vote. So, seeing nothing else for council business, there is no items of correspondence, no delegation business, and no notices of motion. We'll move on to council member reports, and we have one report from Councillor Gustafson for Center 2000.
Thank you, Mayor Wong. We had our Center 2000 Board of Directors meeting on Tuesday, August 30th, and went through our financials, and a few other things we discussed was a fresh coat of paint on the south railing and the handrail outside. We've placed a second request for funding to the Take Part and Take Pride Committee, and we're awarded $1,000. Thank you, Councillor Monroe, for that, making a total of $1,500 for the 2011 projects around the center. Through our funding, we're able to build an irrigation system, add a new batch of cedar chips, trim the hedges, including all labor, at a very minimal cost to the building. Feedbacks from the tenants regarding the decrease in janitorial is mixed. Most are happy, however, the decrease building costs there has been a learning curve for the janitor, and the janitor bills have decreased substantially, saving the center some more funding. The center received a phone call from Minister Mel Knight's office that they have received the application for the CFAP grant. And no official paperwork is in order yet to approve or disapprove that. And also, we were talking, since the building is over 10 years old now, we need to look and think about new flooring and carpet and paint replacement around the building. And this building has, at this point, has no building renewal fund. So perhaps maybe in the future, like all the rest of the city buildings, we can look at getting a building renewal fund for that building. And that's all from Senate 2000.
Thank you, Councillor Gustafson. Is there anyone with questions for Councillor Gustafson? Councillor Rice, I have you in the queue. Do you have anything?
Come on. Once you get a year older, it happens.
Okay, we're on to roundtable reports, and I'll start with Councillor Radburn, please.
Thank you, Councillor Wong.
I was waiting for the first.
Oh, sorry, I cleared you.
Thank you. First part of early on between meetings. So I did September 1st, I was involved in Peace Library System Director Linda Duplessis' evaluation, interviews and discussion. September 2nd, I met with the Airport Commission Authority Manager, Brian Grant, with respect to updates and preparation for our board meeting in September. And then today, I went to the Emergency Services Medal presentation at our South Fire Hall, and a provincial program that recognizes service of our emergency services personnel. Today, 2 firefighters, James Kostek and Jack Pruden, Bill, were recognized today. I think they started in 1998 or 99, and at that time, we were contemplating building the second fire hall. They've excellent service, and it was great for MLA Drysdale to be there to make the presentations. I attended the county Recplex groundbreaking ceremonies this morning. Very impressive and massive site. Very pleased with the components of their Recplex, and I really support that project from a regional capacity perspective. I think that it's good that the county is becoming a partner in ensuring that our region has the infrastructure that we need. And finally, I attended the summer closing of Bear Creek Pool Barbecue along with Councillor Crokin. Had a bit of a barbecue there. The outdoor pool is closed for the season, I guess, until next spring. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radburn. Councillor Gustafson.
Thank you. Aside from my regular scheduled meetings, we had 2 special CDC meetings. One put on one community groups presentation and an FCSS presentation. I also attended a social gathering at the Gun Club put on by our councillor colleague, Councillor O'Toole. Thank you for that. It was very fun. I had a good time. I went to my first hockey game of the year at the Crystal Centre. I went to a presentation put on by Alberta Metal Fab Innovation Program, put on by Productivity Alberta, PREDA, and the Centre for Research and Innovation. Excuse me. The Alberta Metal Fab Innovation Program is a $34 billion industry and in the US, and 70% of it is labor. In Canada, it's a $5 billion industry, and also 70% of it is labor, creating 300,000 jobs, which of 40% of the firms have a labor shortage. So it's very clear to me that we are heading back into what we were in a couple of years ago, looking hard for qualified people to do qualified work. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Crokin.
Thanks, Deputy Wong. I too attended all these CDC and FCSSs and whatever. You weren't just a busy guy. August 25th, we attended along with Caliber 50 O'Toole with fellow councillors to see how people do collect money that is owed to them. It was very, very eye-enlightening and exciting. On the 26th, I was in the Archie Harvey Golf Tournament. It was 39th, and I brought greetings from the city of Grand Prairie. On today, I attended the at 11 o'clock the $30 million ground turning on the county's twin ice arenas. And later that day, of course, I was with Councillor Radburn on the closing Muskosipi Pool. And too bad they're closing this week. It's 29 and 28, and holy light, they were all a little sad about that too. But we've lost a lot of our lifeguards have gone back to school and whatever. So I'd like to just say thanks to all the staff. They did a good job. I went inside, and it's really in fine shape, and looking forward to next year. Thank you. That's it.
Thanks, Councillor Crokin. Councillor Munro.
Thanks very much, Deputy Mayor Wong. August 25th, I was also at the Grand Prairie Gun Club with a number of the other councillors shooting off the big guns. I've got to say, it was Councillor O'Toole took me for a little tour of the facility out there, and it's quite an impressive place. It's quite large. They've got a number of ranges, and looks to be a world-class facility for shooting. August 26th, did a couple of tender openings. You wouldn't have guessed that light bulbs were that expensive, but anyways. And then today I was at the county multiplex as well with a number of the other councillors for the sod turning. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Munro. Councillor Rice.
I missed the last council meeting, so this one may be a little dated, but on August 11th, I attended the Métis Association 83rd Annual Assembly VIP reception on the Thursday night. I know Councillor O'Toole attended on the Saturday night. At this reception, there were 600 delegates registered, and they hadn't held one here since 1999, so it was a long time ago. But there was a presentation and panel discussion around the Métis Nations Framework Agreement with the province of Alberta, so it was a very interesting presentation. I attended at the the relocation of Ovation's Dinner Theater at the Community Village site. And of course, it's in the former St. Joseph Cathedral. And that building has, I believe, the most superior acoustic qualities in the north. So a wonderful new home for them, and certainly a nice addition to the Community Village site. I attended at the medal presentation today, the M Services medal presentation, and congratulations to the two firefighters, and also to the county groundbreaking. So very exciting initiative. Oh, I was at the AUMA meeting when Minister Forsyth did hand down the decision that she was canceling the $15 surcharge. So as you can imagine, it was quite a high-spirited meeting from that point on.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wong. August 26th, I attended at the college honoring Jack Layton and his contributions to Canada. It was not a partisan group. There was quite a few people there. As well, on August 26th, I attended the Fire Fit Challenge, and there was teams incorporating this, men and women. I didn't go to Saturday. I think it was mostly firemen. Grand Prairie has all firemen, no firewomen on staff. On August 31st, I also attended Lost Trail Sneak Preview Party at Camp Tamarack, and there was going to be a play of the Edson Trail 100 Year at the Grand Ole Opera, and it's on over the next week here. And as well, on September 6th, or no, September 1st, I attended Bank of Montreal. They had a hot dog and pop fundraising for the Salvation Army. I don't know how much they raised, but I think it might be over $1,500. And today, I also attended the multiplex groundbreaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McLean. Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much. On the 25th, as stated before, I hosted the counselors and administration to the Wapiti Shooters Club to give them an idea on what's done out there, and it sounds like we're going to do it again here soon. Some talented shooters out here. I also attended... We got to say that. I attended a tender opening on the August 29th. The 27th, I attended the Fire Fit Challenge, and I want to congratulate Todd Russell for coming in first by 1/1000th of a second, I think it was, to take the championship. And Team Grand Prairie come in first as well. So they're off to provincials, correct? Yes. That same day, I went to the Wembley Parade, and I drove in there with the hybrid car that the city owns. And on September 1st, I went to the Philip J. Curry Annual General Meeting. And on September 1st as well, I attended the Liberal Leaders Public Forum held at the, Mr. President over here didn't even acknowledge it, so I was there. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor O'Toole. On Wednesday, August 25th, I was present at the Canadian Red Cross Emergency Preparedness event. They had two events on that day. One was formation of teams that created gourmet meals from emergency rations. And lucky for me, I did show up a little bit late to watch the event because Mayor Gibbon was recruited as one of the official judges and tasters. And well, let's just say the talent for cooking out of emergency rations varied considerably. We did form a team, Mayor Gibbon and I, for the scavenger hunt at Walmart to put together an emergency preparedness kit. It was a preset list of items that you had to run around the store and find, and I'm pleased to say that we did council proud. Mayor Gibbon and I won the event. Yeah. On August 26th, I was present at the council social at the Wapiti Shooters Club. I do want to thank Councillor O'Toole and the club members for organizing the event and for providing safe firearm operations instruction. I thought it too was a world-class event, and I had a lot of fun out there. And it's amazing how something so close to the city is there, and that was really my first time at the facility. So I was very impressed by it. Also on the 26th, members of the board of the Wapiti Corridor Planning Society met with MLA Wayne Drysdale and Minister Mel Knight looking for funding for development of the multi-use plan in the Wapiti River area. Their response was basically that they didn't really have any money in the budget because they're currently looking to go back and obtain additional funding for their areas, but we were encouraged by their support of the plan, and they said that should any additional funding come their way, that they would try to find a way to steer it in our direction. On Saturday, August 27th, I joined several volunteers in the Dunes area for the cleanup organized by Sustainable Resources Development. The mayor came down and provided a few words during the lunch hour, but it was really the volunteers, including Minister Knight and myself, that got our hands dirty and went out there with some garbage bags and picked up tons and tons of garbage. I didn't get the official count, but it was just a fantastic effort by all the volunteers. On Tuesday, August 30th and September 6th, I attended the GPRTA strategic planning session. The Tourism Association is looking to revamp their long-term strategic plan, and I think we have one more of these 3-hour sessions and we'll have it all complete. And council will be getting a copy of that plan once it is complete. Wednesday, August 31st, the Policy Review Committee met. Councillor Rice was also present at this meeting, as well as other members of administration. And this is a really exciting initiative taken on by the city. We're really resurrecting the red tape committee. So we go through the city's policies, and we are going to try to eliminate red tape to try to streamline operations. And finally, on Friday, September 2nd, I attended a tender opening at City Hall. So if there is no other business for this council meeting, I wish everyone a good night, and I adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much.
Good job. A little late, am I
Well.
Yeah, slide me in there.